Happy Friday, guys. Hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving with your friends and family here in the United States. But it's Friday. We got SmackDown tonight, and tomorrow night we've got Survivor Series taking place from the Allstate Arena in Chicago, Illinois. 5 matches have been announced for the show, possibly 6 if you follow a certain storyline from Monday Night Raw. So let's get right into it. Now, at this year's Survivor Series, it's not about brand warfare. It's not Raw versus SmackDown. It's not even about the traditional 5-on-5 Survivor Series elimination tag team matches. There hasn't been a single one announced for this year's show. We might still get that chance on SmackDown. We might get an impromptu match, that kind of match, tomorrow night at Survivor Series. But this year's pay-per-view, this year's edition of Survivor Series, it's all about War Games, and we've got 2 set for this pay-per-view. The men's War Games match, in which the Judgment Day, Senior Money in the Bank Damian Priest, Finn Balor, they're the current undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions. They're going to be tagging along with Dirty Dominic Mysterio, the current NXT North American Champion, brand new member of Judgment Day himself, JD McDonough, along with the Scottish Warrior. He's not quite the Scottish Psychopath just yet. He hasn't truly turned heel just yet, because frankly he was spinning facts on Monday Night Raw in terms of why he did what he did to Rhodes and Uso during their tag team title rematch. Drew McIntyre, that team of 5 faces off against Team Cody Rhodes, led by the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, the current world's heavyweight champion, Seth frickin' Rollins, who again should definitely be the leader of this team because he is the world champion. He's the top guy on Monday Night Raw, the leader of the Red Brand. You got Sami Zayn, and then you got main event Jey Uso, and of course you've got the return of the Apex Predator, the Viper, the 14-time world champion, the first ballot future Hall of Famer in Randy Orton. 5-on-5 War Games match, and Judgment Day has the advantage, as it should be. They're the heels. Give the heels the advantage. Give the babyfaces the chance to become the underdogs for the entirety of the match, and then eventually get the win. And here's the thing. I do think Team Cody Rhodes is going to get the win for this War Games match. Number 1, it's Randy Orton making the return. Number 2, Judgment Day already has all the gold, so even if they do lose, they don't lose all their momentum because they are still on top of Monday Night Raw, holding most of the gold. And again, I've said this multiple times, Damian Priest could end up cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase on Seth freaking Rollins during this match. So we might get that impromptu match in Chicago, Illinois. And again, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not calling that he will, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does, and we get a brand new world's heavyweight champion, because at some point, in the very near future, before WrestleMania season, Damian Priest has to cash in that briefcase. He cannot make it to WrestleMania as world heavyweight champion. That's just not going to happen. So he has to cash it in, become world champion, and eventually at the Rumble, at the Chamber in Australia, lose it right before the Show of Shows, because he's not quite there yet in terms of name. So the biggest storyline going into this War Games match, it's not Drew McIntyre versus Jey Uso. We settled that, sort of, on Monday Night Raw. It's not quite that. It's, can you trust the Viper? Can you trust Randy Orton? Because once he makes his return, the crowd will pop. He's a babyface like no one else. And frankly, every single member of the WWE Universe, every single wrestling fan out there has missed Randy Orton in the middle of that squared circle. They want to see him back. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But Randy Orton is a much better heel than he is a babyface. And Matt Riddle isn't here. He was relieved of his services in WWE. And I'm not saying that's going to piss him off. I'm not saying that's going to make Randy Orton turn. All I'm saying is, before Matt Riddle, Randy Orton was a heel. Riddle turned him into a babyface. They were a babyface tag team because of Matt Riddle, because of the original Bro. And even though Randy Orton has a lot of history with Cody Rhodes, with the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, there's lots of ingredients set up for Randy Orton and opportunities set up for Randy Orton to turn on this team. Hopefully, he waits until after the match, after Team Cody Rhodes wins. But he can turn on Rollins, chasing after that World's Heavyweight Championship. He could turn on main event Jey Uso. Hell, after all, his twin brother and him did take him out of commission, storytelling-wise, of course. And then you got a feud that's going to keep Cody Rhodes busy until WrestleMania season, if he indeed turns on the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes. Which again, at some point it's going to happen. At some point we need Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes. They need to go up 1-on-1, and the best way to do it is for a babyface heel dynamic. The best way to do it is for Randy Orton to turn on the American Nightmare. Now, it could happen at War. Now, here's the thing. If it does not happen at War Games, during or after War Games, then it's going to happen after WrestleMania. As simple as that. So with that said, I'm giving the win to the men's War Games match for Team Cody Rhodes. But keep an eye out for the Viper, Randy Orton, during this entire match for his reaction. There's going to be some ring rust. Hopefully not too much. He is one of the greats after all. But all in all, it's the main event that I'm most definitely looking forward to. And then we got the women's War Games match, 4-on-4. Damage Control. In a shocking turn of events, Asuka joined Damage Control. And that stable, that group on SmackDown, on that women's division, is stronger than ever, to the point that they needed to recruit and bring in the man Becky Lynch to counteract Asuka joining Damage Control for that women's War Games match. Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, and Shotzi face off against a team of Bayley, Asuka, Io Sky, and Kairi Sane. Returning Kairi Sane. And it's very, very simple. It's very, very simple. Damage Control has to win this. Damage Control will win this match. And they will do it by beating the weakest link in this entire 8-women match. And of course, that unfortunately goes to Shotzi. As simple as that. Now, the weakest link in terms of Damage Control, that's Bayley. And it's a little bit too soon to have Damage Control turn on Bayley, which is a storyline that a lot of people are looking forward to. It's a storyline that I'm looking forward to finally turning Bayley babyface. But we need that slow burn. We need the fans to get behind Bayley a little bit. We need the fans to catch on to the fact that Damage Control, Asuka, Io Sky, Kairi Sane, and Dakota Kai also in the background are just stringing Bayley along, using her, making fun of her behind her back. All of that. We need the audience, the fans, to start feeling sympathy and sorry for Bayley. And War Games is much too soon to do that. It's much too soon to have that happen, to have that transpire. And even though you have a dream team of Belair, Flair, and man Becky Lynch on the other side of things, ego gets in the way. They're top baby faces, they're top champions. They got too many accomplishments. And again, Shotzi just sticks out like a sore thumb in terms of being a weaker link in this 8-women match. So I'm going to give the Women's War Games win in terms of this match itself. It's going to go to Damage Control. Not without a few teases of Io and Kairi turning on Bayley. Not without a few instances of Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair kind of reconciliating in the middle of the ring. Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair getting along. A little bit of tension too. What can you do? I can do better. We need to see a lot more of that as well during this match. So again, War Games have been built up in a very strategic way to set up for future matches, in my opinion. Again, it's just my opinion, so we'll just have to wait and see. Men's War Games goes to Team Cody Rhodes. Women's War Games goes to Damage Control. And then we've got 3 singles matches. We've got, of course, the Intercontinental title match in which Gunther, the ring general, defends his championship against a man who has won the Intercontinental title more times than anybody else can say. And of course, I'm talking about Mike Mizanin, The Miz. And this is a very easy match to predict. There is absolutely no chance in hell The Miz, the A-lister, is dethroning the ring general for the Intercontinental Championship. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a straight up squash by Gunther. And again, that's not going to hurt The Miz at all. The Miz has been on losing streaks in the past. He's been humiliated. He's been destroyed. He's been put in some really awkward, unimportant feuds, unimportant rivalries in the past, and he still finds a way to make himself relevant, and he does so because he carries himself in that way, because he works the microphone like no one else, and again, his in-ring work almost never fails. So again, I wouldn't mind Gunther squashing The Miz in this match just to prove the point that you might have won the Intercontinental Championship, 8, 9 times in the past? But this is a different era. I'm a different kind of champion. And I'm a different kind of performer. Gunther gets to win hands down. There's like a 1% chance The Miz wins this. 1%. And I'm being generous, giving him a 1% chance. And again, that's just how the story plays out. Speaking of generous, Rhea Ripley, Mommy, defends her Women's World Championship against Zoe Stark 1-on-1. And trust me, this match is not about getting Zoe Stark and making her Women's World Champion. It's not about presenting her as a threat, a real threat to Rhea Ripley and to the Women's World Championship. That's just not possible. She's just not there yet. She's not a big enough caliber superstar in terms of character, in terms of story. She's not there. This whole story, this whole match, the whole entire match, all of it is about Zoe Stark proving to Rhea Ripley, proving to the world, proving to the fans out there that she can hold her own, that she is a badass in her own right, that she, no matter what, no matter the circumstances, can stand up to someone of the stature, of the accolades, of the accomplishments, of the brutality of Rhea Ripley. And this match is about Zoe Stark getting punched down, beat down so many times, and still finding a way to get back up until she just can't no more, and Rhea Ripley puts her out of her misery. That's the story that they need to tell in terms of Rhea Ripley versus Zoe Stark. That sets up Zoe Stark for future potential matches in the next few months. And most importantly, that gives Rhea Ripley a very important role currently in WWE, in which she is at the top of her division. She is Mommy. She is always on top. She's the top dog of the division. She needs to start putting superstars over in that way. And Zoe Stark might be the perfect candidate to do so at Survivor Series. Again, we'll just have to wait and see. Rhea Ripley, again, much like the Intercontinental title match, Rhea Ripley is going to retain her title 9 times out of 10. But Zoe Stark needs to put in the match of her life, the effort of her life. And then she might be set. Hell, she might get future shots after this. But they have to play their cards right. And finally, grudge match, Carlito versus Santos Escobar. Santos Escobar, who turned his back on the LWO, who turned his back on his hero mentor Rey Mysterio, and again, it's a story, it's a betrayal that's been months in the making. And honestly, WWE would be wise to present this match up until WrestleMania. And that's why Rey Mysterio always went into surgery. Delay the inevitable, which is Santos versus Rey Mysterio. Build up that blood feud, build up that rivalry. As far as this match is concerned, Santos Escobar needs to get the win. He needs to get some momentum, because at the end of the day, prior to him turning on Rey Mysterio, Santos Escobar was a glorified jobber. He was the glorified, quote-unquote, de facto leader when Rey Mysterio wasn't around of the LWO, but the LWO loses way too much. Santos Escobar needs to, even if it's by underhanded tactics, he needs to defeat Carlito tomorrow night at Survivor Series. And finally, we've got a possible open challenge made by a certain Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, over the past few weeks on Monday Night Raw, past few months really, Shinsuke Nakamura has been taunting and calling somebody out. Hasn't mentioned him by name, hasn't given too many hints on who it might be. And just for the sake of this argument, just for the sake of this prediction, I'm going to say, screw it. I'm going to say CM Punk is going to return. He's going to answer Shinsuke Nakamura's challenge if that does happen, because otherwise, if it's not CM Punk, here's the thing. If we do have an open challenge by Shinsuke Nakamura at Survivor Series, if he comes out to the ring and if he calls somebody out, and that man that comes out is not CM Punk, we don't hear Code of Personality on the speakers, that crowd will turn on the show itself and will start to try and hijack the show itself. So if we do get an open challenge, and if we do get this match by Nakamura, CM Punk is pretty much the only star possible to answer it. And if it's not going to be CM Punk, then you might as well not do it, because it will just bring too many repercussions to the audience and to the fans in the arena. So with that said, those are my predictions for Survivor Series this Saturday night in Chicago, Illinois. What are your thoughts? What are your predictions? What are you expecting from Survivor Series this upcoming weekend? Leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions in the comment section below. In the meantime, tune in later on tonight to Fox for another episode of SmackDown, the go-home show for the pay-per-view itself. We've got a 3-hour block, Collision and Rampage tomorrow night on TNT. I keep getting them mixed up. TBS and TNT. Anyway, it's a 3-hour block that's going head-to-head with Survivor Series. I'm not sure that's a very smart idea by AEW, but it is counter-programming, so we'll see how it works out for them. So with that said, I'm Alexis Carrillo. This has been Wrestling Talk, and I'll see you next time.